Hello, farmers, and welcome to another episode of the harvest season. My name is Al.
I'm waiting for you.
I was waiting for you too. I'm Micah.
And I'm Kev.
There.
And we're here today to confuse you a lot.
Well, I mean, that goes without saying.
Cottagecore games. Woo!
Woo!
Just in case people don't know who they are, the names were the wrong way around there. So, they're good luck. This is the fun episode of the year where I get two people on and we argue about which is the best game. And most of the time we come to a conclusion where we're all accepting that is our combined game of the year.
Not this year. I refuse already.
We will see where this year goes. But oh boy, do I have some opinions. We'll get to that when we get to that. Obviously, transcripts are available for the episode and the show in general in the show notes and on the website. Before we get into the game of the year stuff, Micah, what have you been up to?
I have been playing Dragon Quest Monsters.
Shock
3.
The good stuff. Slimes are on your team.
I have also been playing Starfield quite a bit.
Interesting. What do you think?
Okay.
This is the response I hear every time I ask about it.
I very much understand two things. One, I am a fan of Bethesda game design and have been for many years. So there is a level of comfort that comes with it. I also understand that it is kind of dated game design. And it all sort of feels the same as far as Bethesda goes. But because I like that, I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm a Tetris fan, and Tetris hasn't changed once in the 40 years it's been out.
That's not true. That's not true, Kevin.
Yeah, I know that's not true.
We know, you know that Tetris has changed. It has improved.
Yeah.
It has moved with the times.
Tetris Effect is one of the greatest Tetris games of all time. Tetris 99, I would say, I would actually argue that Tetris has done more changing than most franchises do.
You're right.
Especially kind of impressive.
A fan of.
We don't come for Tetris here, Kevin.
I mean, we could.
I don't know. It's kids. It can be cozy, right?
We could argue which one's the best shaped piece.
Well, they also have their scam game that Cody's playing.
Their scam game?
Oh, have you not heard this, Micah? She's playing a game that, like, you get points, and then apparently once you hit 1 million or 2 million points, you can win a free cruise.
What?
And I'm convinced it's a scam.
That does sound kind of scammy.
I'm waiting for the day that she gets to the right number of points, and then, like, we never hear from her again because she's like shipped off to have her organs harvested or something.
Dear God.
Well,
all because of Tetris.
That sounds like
anyway,
the game
so
of the year
Starfield. So what you're saying is, if you like Starfield, you'll like Starfield. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, if you like Bethesda games, Bethesda RPGs, then you'll probably like Starfield. I think that there's a lot of really neat things that they do with the like space travel portions of it. There's a lot of really cool the like ship combat, space combat and stuff like that is very, very interesting. It's fun. And the more that you kind of get comfortable with how things function in the world, the more comfy of a game it is to.
Okay, serious question. Have you played No Man's Sky?
I have.
To that?
It is like if No Man's Sky had way more polish.
Okay.
And was much more fleshed out and had much more like story elements to it. Okay. I think that like primarily my enjoyment of Bethesda games comes from their writing, and because there, just as an example, there's a quest that I stumbled on by killing a space pirate, and when I looked in his inventory, there was a note, and when I read the note, then it unlocked this huge side quest that was like hours long, which is like I could have very easily missed that. And I love that there's such depth to like how stories play, like side stories even play out in Bethesda games like that. Like so many times in Elder Scrolls games and things, I'll just stumble onto a cave and there's a really deep story that's written into this this group that moved into this cave or whatever, and it's something that you could very easily miss. It really makes me appreciate how much effort they put into writing things that people could never play in their playthrough through the game, but there's plenty of that in Starfield, which makes me enjoy it quite a bit. So
yeah, I think that's fair. I've enjoyed seeing a lot of the stuff online about all the kind of like side stuff, which has been for me probably more fun than actually playing the game would be. So like I totally get if you enjoy the game, then it makes it so much more fun, right? Because you're finding all these things and just kind of stumble across this. But yeah, for me, it's like, yeah, I enjoy watching someone post about it online or post a video or something like that.
Right.
I think I know the side story you're talking about, because that's the one that most people tend to go to.
Yeah, it's a pretty important one because it, especially early on, it gives you access to things that you would not have otherwise.
Yeah. You've just confirmed it's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. That's the important thing. That's what we play games for.
And I could talk about Dragon Quest Monsters endlessly, but I'll save everybody's. I'll save everyone's ears for.
We actually could do a greenhouse on it. I'll gladly listen to.
Let's discuss that later.
Yeah, I think that's probably what I'm gonna be hanging on to that for is the later greenhouse discussions.
Awesome, Kevin. What have you been up to?
So it's been a hot minute since I've been on, I think. And the biggest life update for people who haven't heard, I have kittens now.
As you kittens?
Have I not shown you them, Micah? Oh,
no.
I will text you a picture right now.
When you say kittens, obviously plural, how many are we talking here?
We're talking 2. So we started off with 1. So we're looking for a new place to move into, and at one of the places we have kittens they were giving away. And so we took one home. And then after some discussions, we said, you know what? I bet this kitten could use a companion. So we went back and got one of her brothers. And so we now went from no kittens to 2 kittens pretty much out of the blue. Their names are Teddy and Daisy. They are about 7-8 weeks. Yeah. They're about 8 weeks old. This is my first time owning cats. I've had a dog before, but never cats. It's been enjoyable. They're fun, energetic. Daisy in particular is a little gremlin who loves to run around. Teddy, the brother, he's a lot more chill. He is, I'm loving them so far. I love animals, right? And they were so little when we got them. They're only like 4 weeks old when we got them. So they were really little. They're like tripled in size. I took them to the vet for the first time yesterday.
Oh my god!
Aren't they precious?
So cute.
I will have to find. I'll send Al pics so he can post them with the show.
Which one is the white and gray one?
That's Daisy.
That's Daisy.
Mm-hmm.
Daisy looks very much like my brother's cat, Zero.
Oh, really?
18 years old.
Wow. That's
the like identical like pattern and facial structure.
Teddy's really cute. He's got a tuxedo pattern. He's got gray fur, but like little white paws, and Daisy's black.
They're so
black gray spots. Yeah, they're adorable. So yeah, they can be a handful at times, as I'm sure cat owners know. They can get all over the place, but I've been enjoying. That's the big thing, really. But other than that, probably the biggest things I've been playing lately. I've really been getting through Tears of the Kingdom. Finally, I've pretty much at the finish line. I've done all the big quests. I'm just kind of going around hitting up all the shrines and filling out the map and so on and so forth. But I could go take on Ganon anytime. That game is phenomenal. It's great. I mean, I don't have to go in depth about it. I'm sure everyone knows how good it is.
Speaking of games that have secrets.
Right. But yeah, very good game. Not much else probably could add. And then the other one is Street Fighter 6. So I am a fighting game fan. I am bad at them, but I love them.
Hey, me too.
I picked it up. Yeah, you got
on
right.
both fronts.
Have you picked up Street Fighter 6?
I have
Micah?
not. I have some friends that have watched play, and I have some friends that are extremely good at Street Fighter. So I've seen some stuff that I've seen gameplay that I don't fully understand because it's too high level for my small brain to comprehend. But
that's fine. I'm playing it and it happens to me. So yeah, the two big things, I mean, Street Fighter, right? It's the iconic series, so I'm sure people know what it's all about. It's fighting. But the two big things that it brings, the first is called modern controls. They have a new control scheme that simplifies basically playing the game. So traditionally you'd have to do a motion on your control stick and a button and all sorts of crazy combinations to get moves out. But they simplified it where you can get moves out with just the press of a button. It's very beginner friendly. Because of the convenience of that, like they balanced it by reducing the strength of the moves and things like that.
Sure.
But I think it's great. I don't play it much myself. I like the classic stuff, but it's fun to see people use it and be able to get in without having to worry about not being able to do the moves. I say that as someone who's not always able to do the moves. And the second big thing that they have is called World Tour Mode. Have you guys heard of this at all?
Yes.
Oh, man. So World Tour Mode is their single player campaign, story, whatever you want to call it. But the real kicker is it's a create a character mode. So you create your own fighter, but like there's sliders to your physical attributes. So you can be as tall, skinny, short, whatever you want. You can make monstrosity looking characters and it will affect your like gameplay, right? If you have long arms, you will be able to punch farther or whatever. It's pretty fun making your own character, and then you can customize your moves as you go around and learn moves from the actual characters and whatnot. So it's very fun and goofy. I love it. You can hang out with the cast, which are filled with fun, dumb moments. You can text all the Street Fighters. It's really funny.
I am a big fan of really ridiculous character creation.
Oh, it's so good. It's probably the most ridiculous one. Like just today I saw somebody look like a spaghetti with arms. It's so good. And you can fight. There's an online mode where you can bring your creative character so you can have your freak matches. It's great. But yeah, everything about that game is fantastic. The presentation, the music, the online play works great. I rarely have any bad connections for matches. And the only other thing I should say, the character I've picked up. Her name is Manon. She is a French supermodel who is also a judo wrestler, and she knows some ballet. So she throws all of that in her move. She does struts, she does pirouettes, and she'll throw you around. She's very fun to play. But yeah, that's what I've been up to. All right, Senor Al, what about you? What you been up to?
Not a huge amount. It's been a weird week, but I've been playing a bit of a Highland song. So for Micah, probably who isn't aware, it's a platforming game based in the Scottish Highlands, and it's part of it is rhythm based, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It has great music. The story is really good, and like, I don't play games with the sound on, but I can't play this game with the sound off. Like, it's just, even outside of the rhythm bits, it's just so good. Yeah, like...
what is this called?
a Highland song,
Huh.
Okay,
and it's fantastic.
what are the rhythm portions like? Because
So,
I know
okay,
it was
yeah,
the Scottish game, but
That's
I
a
don't
fair
know what
question.
it's like.
That's a fair question. So, to preamble to that, the idea is that you've got all these mountains, and you're climbing over them, and you're trying to get to specific points. And there are places in the game where, as you are walking, it'll tell you to press B to run. And then as you're running across a terrain, there are like things in the way, and the rhythm bit is you have to press it in time to the music to keep going and jump over the rocks and stuff like that.
Okay, that's fascinating. Huh. I don't think I've ever seen a rhythm platformer in that aspect, like just dodging the terrain and stuff.
This is beautiful.
Right. And the best
I'm
thing is,
looking at
so
some
when you're standing
gameplay of it.
when you're standing on a hill in the game and you can see all of the hills around you, all of those hills are hills you can go to in the game at some point.
Oh wow, that's nice.
Wow. Yeah, this is a really pretty game. I've never heard of this.
Yeah, it's really I'm loving it.
Is
It's
it
great.
new?
Yeah, it came out a couple weeks ago.
Oh. Huh.
But it's fantastic, and all the Scottish accents are legitimate, so no terrible Shrek voices.
But I mean, come on, don't you want at least one Shrek in there?
No.
No, that was a very immediate no.
Definitely not. Never. Shrek is fine in Shrek, not outside. We have enough fake Scottish voices in the world. There are very few
fair
things where
enough.
we actually get proper Scottish voices, so it's nice
Fair
to
enough.
actually hear some.
Is David Tennant in it?
I don't think so, no.
That's a missed opportunity.
His voice, there was something, I can't remember what it was I was watching the other day, and I was like, oh, that's David Tennant. Like, I always, anytime I hear him doing his normal voice, it's like such a distinctive voice for me that I'm like, oh, it's like every so often somebody learns that David Tennant is Scrooge McDuck in the DuckTales reboot.
Yeah,
And they're like,
yeah, it's-
what? It's David Tennant? I'm like, how could you not tell? His voice is just so distinctly his voice. Maybe that's a
didn't
Scottish
know-
thing. I don't know.
I mean, I watched. I'm a big fan of the reboot of DuckTales, but I didn't know it was David Tennant till a little bit in. And I didn't realize he was Scottish. It's
Yeah,
really
he's not.
funny.
He's not putting on a voice. He's slightly emphasizing it, but that's basically just his voice.
Sure. I like how he says "garage" in the first episode. I always remember that one.
Yeah. Don't do that again, Kevin.
That's how he says it.
So yeah, I've mostly been playing that, and also been playing Pokemon because of the Flababy outbreaks.
Oh, that's right.
As I said in the show notes, Flababy baby.
Forgot that was going on. I forget it's Flababy now, and then
Milcery
and something else.
So it's current Flababy in Paldea. It is
and Milcery and Kitakami.
No, it is not. It is Litwick in Kitakami. Milcery isn't in the game yet. Milcery will be in the Blueberry Academy when it comes out. So that's why it's not Milcery yet. It's because it's in the new region.
I haven't gotten the new
DLC. Do we know what the new region's called? Other than just it's the Blueberry Academy.
I think it's just called the Blueberry Academy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's Unovan territory, I guess. I don't know, but it's like an artificial island sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they call it like the dome or
terrarium.
Yeah, I don't know if it is a terrarium or not.
It's loose. It means island with spirit. I mean, it's the vibe that I got from it when I.
Hopefully less evil, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. It's always we'll see.
I might get the DLC finally. The look.
Oh, they are calling it the terrarium. They are calling it.
Yeah, I know that.
I was just recently finishing up my Pokedex, my living dex in Violet in preparation for the DLC. But it was a lot of just figuring out who I knew who had the other Sinnoh starters, because you only get the one egg.
Yeah.
And it's dependent on what starter you picked for Scarlet or Violet.
I think it was, or maybe it was random. I can't remember.
I feel like it was. It seemed like from trying to track down where I would find a Piplup, it was it was through like power of deduction through who had what starter from Paldea. So
Right.
I don't know if that's actually the case or not, but that's how I managed to figure out who had one.
Yeah, I could probably find out if I cared enough.
That's kind of how I feel about it too.
I mean, I still like, I'm still enjoying it, and I'm really looking forward to the new DLC. But Kevin, you don't need to play it. You can just not.
I don't.
It's true.
Look,
It's true. I will say that I felt. I think we talked about this the last time I was on. Actually,
we had a whole greenhouse episode about it.
I finally finished the DLC, the first DLC.
Oh yes, because you hadn't finished it when we did the greenhouse episode,
and that is like rare for me because I go pretty hard into Pokemon stuff when it launches for the first time. So to not do that is kind of a new and weird thing for me. But I finally finished it, and I did enjoy it. But I did feel that it was a very, I don't know. I'm still feeling like I've kind of become disillusioned with modern Pokemon to some degree. But
I mean, and okay, like to not, I notoriously nag on the game, but to pull the veil down a little, to be a little more genuine here, I do think the trailer for the upcoming part looks good. I'm a bit excited for what I see. Mm-hmm. The only part that yeah, I know. The only part that really irritates me is the flying thing, how it's locked behind the DLC.
Yeah,
because
I agree.
It just, with knowing how the development cycle works and the timing of everything, it feels very intentional. They put bad flying to incentivize.
Here's the thing. I don't care if it's like, oh, we couldn't get it done in time for release, right? You still don't have to lock it behind the DLC. They have updates. Exactly. Every game has updates when there's DLCs. Yeah. So you absolutely don't need to. It's absolutely a very specific choice to lock that quality of life feature behind the purchase, and that is bad, and we should absolutely call that out. It's not going to stop me buying the game, though.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same position.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of stuff that could, that just generally, as far as the development cycle goes, could have been changed for the better. I had mentioned a little bit the like one time I've been on Twitter in the last like month after they talked about they released the new trailer this last week, I think.
Yeah.
And they showed off the like Pokemon control mode. I forgot what they call it, but
sync control thing.
Synchronize, yeah, that's what it was.
Where you can control the Pokemon and run around as the Pokemon, and it seemingly has not much of a like use case other than you can battle Pokemon, but you just run around as a Pokemon. And that to me immediately like I'd think back to when the games first came out and how much like disgruntledness there was with certain elements of the design, the game's design, like how you couldn't go into any of the houses, but then they, when they clipped out of bounds, then they found that there were like half designed internal locations. Like you could have gone into, but it was very clear that they ran out of time in the development cycle, just couldn't. So there are things like that where like it makes me feel like sync mode was something that they just ran out of time on.
So that's possible, but I also think it could be along the lines of like, Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee to Legends, where we saw a clear direction they were moving, and it's not necessarily like, I don't think anyone would say that the catching in Let's Go was the way it was because they didn't have enough time to do what they ended up doing in Legends, but it was more like a kind of moving in that kind of direction. And we see this with a lot of things in Pokemon where they do that, where it's like it's just a prerequisite, and they kind of like the game steps. It's not like here's a game, let's build a game, here's another game, let's build another game, right? Like they're constantly doing all these different things in these different games and having these different ideas. And
these, I don't think these are mutually exclusive either.
That's true.
I think that I agree with that. That makes sense. But I do feel like there is a level of like half-baked development process for some of these things, and I am willing to give for like you said for Let's Go. I think the catch feature for Let's Go was meant to more mimic Pokemon Go. Like it was very clearly their connection point between the main games and Pokemon Go, so that catching style was intended to feel like, but I mean it does feel like, especially the motion control portion feels like Pokemon Go.
Kind of, but I also then we got only a few years later Legends. Like it feels like it was what they kind of wanted to move towards, and they were trying different things, and this is what they ended up with. I don't think it was just like, oh, let's just make Pokemon Go in a main series game. Like I think it was, they wanted to get to the point where they had a game which was Legends, where you were actually running around and literally just throwing Pokeballs at Pokemon, right?
And then they said, let's go backwards at the next game.
Look, it's not. Yeah. I mean, it does show a flaw in how they develop their games, and that these were almost certainly developed in parallel, and therefore you can't know what's going to be popular and what's going to end up working really well before you do it the next one. I don't disagree with you. I want that again. But anyway, we don't need to keep talking about Pokemon. Let's move on, shall we? This happens every couple of months. We end up on another Scarlet and Violet.
The trailer just came out.
It did. But I need to save some of my Pokemon talk for a different podcast. Anyway,
we're doing the worst games of the year podcast.
Wow. Anyway, that's what we've been up to. And I'm glad that we got a good half an hour out of that, because there is no news, because this is recorded out of time. Because I don't know about you guys, but I did not want to record this on, Hogmanay. So we're recording it a few weeks early.
Where's your dedication, Al?
What do you have, things to do?
Yes. Yes, I do. So we are here to discuss our favorite games of the year and hopefully come to a conclusion on what the podcast's game of the year is. So begins the part of the podcast where I read a bunch of words. So I am going to go down all of the games that were released this year. And at what point does this become ridiculous? I don't know. Is this the most games we've had released in a year since we started the podcast? Yes, it absolutely is. Absolutely insane. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
More than 3, I'll tell you that. I didn't know
30 games, 31, 30, 35 games, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 released into early access. So was that 42 games in this list. So this is the list. The first list is the list of games that were released not into early access, and they previously weren't in early access. This is brand new games this year. Brand new games, not early access. And these, I don't know why I overcomplicated this, but here, this is what we're doing. So this is Above Snakes, Before the Green Moon, Everdream Valley, Fae Farm, Farming Simulator 23, Flutter Away, Garden Buddies, Garden Inn, Harvest Moon, The Winds of Anthos, Homestead Arcana, Innchanted, Loddlenaut, Mineko's Night Market, Moonstone Island, My Time at SAndrock, Paleo Pines, Roots of Pacha, Rune Factory 3 Special, Season A Letter to the Future, Silent Hope, Smushi Come Home, Spells and Secrets, Spirittea, Sprout Valley, Steamworld Build, Story of Seasons A Wonderful Life, Sundown, Tchia, Terra Nil, and Wildmender. And
now, if you thought that was it...
I'm going to feel bad when one of the real games of the year is in here and the ones that I didn't play.
Well, this is part of the problem. So next we have 5 games that were released in 1.0 this year and early access a previous year. Okay, so they were already out, but they came to their 1.0. They left early access this year. That's a better way of describing it. These games left early access this year. And we have Iconi Island, Moondrop, Sunhaven, Coral Island, and Disney Dreamlight Valley. And then we have the list of 7 games that came into early access this year. And that is Cornucopia, Fabledom, Moonlight in Garland, One Lonely Outpost, Research Story, Song of the Prairie, and Snacko. Hey, Micah, is this the first time you're learning that Snacko's in early access? Or did you know that?
No. Yesterday, when I opened Notion, was the first time I learned that Snacko was early.
Well, surprise! Snacko's in early access now.
I've played the betas, or the alphas, sorry.
Yeah.
And I have decided that I don't want to do much more with the game until they get a full release, because I love it so far and I don't want to overdo it.
Fair enough.
Don't burn yourself out on it. I know somebody who was a big fan of Hades, but they only played in the early access and they burned themselves out.
I don't think I could burn myself out on it really, as much as it's just that, like, I don't want to miss out, like, because I backed it and I want to, I don't know, experience the full experience. I've experienced so much of it at this point that, you know.
I think that's fair. I got to the same point with Coral Island last year where I was like, and now I'm going to put it down until 1.0.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was like 40 hours or 50 hours or something like that. Like it was more than I play a lot of games, you know. and I didn't feel like playing that much ruined the experience for me when I came to the final version. Because I've put in more than, like, I'm up to 100 hours now in that game. So, like, you know, I think it depends on the game.
Yeah.
But that is a fair point. I've not decided what I'm going to do with Snacko. I've not decided yet.
Why did nobody tell me Homestead Arcana came out? I would have played it. I missed that.
Kevin!
I'm pretty...
Have I got news for you?
Kevin. We literally have a shared list of all of these games, and when they're coming out, you can look at it all the time, and I'm constantly updating it, just to let you know that is a thing.
You assume I read these even when we're recording.
No, I don't assume that at all, but I will complain about it. So, any thoughts before we get into listing our favorite games? Any thoughts on the list as a whole?
It's a good list.
It's a very good list. It's too good.
It's a strong list that when I opened this document and looked at it, I was surprised that so many games had come out this year, and B, a little bit concerned about how few of these games I actually played.
Exactly. All right, time to strike out all the ones none of us have played.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And I think it is interesting, right? Because, like, I've now been tracking these games. I think I have all of the farming games that have released ever now in my list. And so that's 47 this year. Last year, there were 24. In 2021, there were 15. In 2020, there were 9. In 2019, there were 13. And then we've got, like, between 2016 and 2018, there were 16. Right? So that's like a 3-year span, and there were the same number as there were in 2021. And then 2010 to 2015, there were 12 of them, half of which were just Farming Simulator.
Yeah.
And the other half were just Harvest Moon. Right? That's not true. There were 3 Harvest Moons, 2 Rune Factories, and 1 Story of Seasons, and an Animal Crossing. Right? So, like, the rest were Farming Simulator. And then the 5 years before that, there were 17 in total, half of which were Farming Simulator. Right? So, like, it's a whole different scale, you know, compared to what it was back then.
Thanks, Stardew Valley.
It's just... Yeah, how dare you be good? We didn't need good games.
Changed the whole landscape of the genre of gaming. Thanks.
It is wild that Stardew Valley is 8 years old in February. Just saying.
I thought it was older, to be honest.
No, 2016. Okay. Right. Well, I mean, shall we get right into it then? Let's go for one each around. Should we do that around the table? One each.
All right.
And we can say what the game is and tell me why you've got it in the list. And we're not doing... No, it's a terrible game. So, Micah, would you like to go with your first one?
Can I go with my wild card first?
You can go in whatever order you want. If you want to leave your strongest for last, go for it. If you want to start with your strongest, go for it. If you want to do your crazy one first,
I'm going to get my wild card out of the way because I know that it's not going to go very far. So.
Never assume these things. You have no idea what's going to happen.
Okay, that's true. You're right. My.
Oh, wait, before we get into that, let me just quickly. I want to go through what we have had as our games of the year in the past.
Good call.
Last year, Ooblets won. 2022, Ooblets won.
It did indeed.
It did. 2021 was Spiritfarer. 2020 was Summer in Mara. And 2019 was Doraemon Story of Seasons.
Wildflower was robbed.
What year was Wildflower?
Last year.
I mean,
none of the three of us had played
Ooblets,
it.
Though.
And Kevin, you hadn't played it by that point either. So
that is correct.
also Ooblets is,
Ooblets was the only... Well, you hadn't played Ooblets, but me and Bev had.
Yes.
And you had a wild card last year as well. So what's your wild card this year?
What was my wild card last year?
Shin-chan Summer Vacation.
Oh, I mean, that is actually... I still stand by that.
I'm not saying it's a bad. I'm just saying, like, it was a little bit out of left field. Neither of us had heard of that game before you brought it up.
Well, let me tell you about my wild card for this year, which I guarantee you have heard of. There's absolutely no scenario where you have not heard of this game. Are you ready?
Is it the princess game?
It is Fortnite.
Okay. Right. Okay. So you wait. No. Right. Okay. So Micah. You're telling me that over the past 3 days, you have played this game enough to consider it one of your favorite games of the year?
I would say that there's a reason that it's a wild card. And I would say that it is probably the reason that it's in my list is not because I would personally consider it one of my favorite games of the year, but I think that it is a very important bridge for the wider Fortnite audience, which is massive, into the world of farming sims.
And hey, if we let
for anybody that is confused by this and doesn't understand why Fortnite is part of this conversation,
we will have talked about it in a previous episode.
Yes, so the Fortnite, the Lego Fortnite mode has been released as of 3 days ago. So.
And for some reason, it's basically Minecraft, but with more farming.
Yes, and also wild. As Legos, and it's in Fortnite. I don't really know if there's aside from skins and characters, there's not.
Is it actually Lego brand?
Yes, it is. It's actually Lego brand, and you are just building Lego a Lego homestead, basically a village. In the wild, it's essentially a survival. It's more of a survival game than it is like a farming sim. So it's more, but there does seem to be
a decent amount of farming in it.
There is a decent amount of farming in it. I'll say that I have played quite a bit of it because the team that I work with has been very into it. So, and prior to that coming out, we had all been playing Ark. The dinosaur survival game. So we had a server that we were playing that on. So when a new survival type game released and it's Fortnite and it's free and it's Lego, then we were like, okay, well, let's play this instead. So we have been playing quite a bit of it, and I was a little bit shocked at how good of an experience it is because it's just odd because it's got, other than the skins and the characters, I guess the game that you access it from, there's nothing related to Fortnite really.
No, well, I think your character is in the beginning based on the base Fortnite playable character, right?
Yeah. So aside from the characters, I mean, it's really there's not a lot of Fortnite.
It's not Fortnite at all.
No,
it's a couple of things I find interesting about this. So first of all, it made me realize that Fortnite is not just Fortnite anymore, right? Like Fortnite was just a battle royale
for a while,
but that is just one of 8 different game modes,
right?
Absolutely wild to me that that's the point now. And second of all, not only is this, it's like, it's not just Fortnite but Lego. It's Fortnite but Lego if they made it Minecraft, but with more farming.
Yes.
And it's just so fast. So I haven't played a huge amount of it. I've downloaded it and I've started playing it and I've kind of done the first couple of things and it's not really grabbing me. I don't think I'm going to spend a huge amount of time on it, but I think so Minecraft, when we covered Minecraft on the podcast, it was a bit of a stretch, right? There is farming, but it's very limited. It's like, it was 4 crops or something. There might be more now.
Yeah.
Minecraft has done a lot since then, but it felt like a bit of a stretch.
Significant differences between, yeah, there's quite a bit to do in Fortnite.
Minecraft has been
this,
a lot
this, yeah, this feels like a legit farming game, but it's not cottagecore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's survival farming game.
Yeah.
So I guess it also is a little bit of like how you play it. So like, granted, there is a survival aspect that needs to be taken care of, but depending on who you're playing with or the there is a like peaceful mode that you can do similar to what Minecraft had, where
that's a good point.
It's not really, you don't have to play the survival mode. You can play it just for the sake of like, the kind of like sandbox aspect of it where you're building stuff and doing whatever you want. Yeah. But, like with my group, I'm not as big into the survival aspects of it. Like I don't particularly care about, min-maxing food and water and so on and so forth. I'm more into the like building and designing and, farming and that stuff. So I kind of take on that role while everybody else takes on the survival portion of it.
Yeah.
So there are different ways to be able to play it that make it a little bit more of like a comfortable experience. I mean, I literally built a cottage, so I don't know.
Nice. Well,
yeah,
there you go.
I think that's totally fair. I guess my point of what I was saying was like, I think this is much more legitimate as a farming game than Minecraft was when we covered it.
Right.
So I think it's totally fair to count this as a farming game. So maybe I should add it into the list as Lego Fortnite.
Oh, there you go.
But here's a question for you. Does this make it Fortnite the most downloaded farming game ever?
That's why
absolutely
I've included it, because I think it is an important touchstone in the history of farming games where there's a possibility. I can see a world in which people who play this enjoy the like farming aspects of it, want more of that, and branch out into other farming type games, because there is such a broad audience for Fortnite that and there's such a broad audience for Lego too, that there is a good possibility that it creates more farming game fans, which I'm all for.
So I've added it into the list, and also I need to add one more that I forgot, which was Hello Kitty Island Adventure.
Oh yeah,
I did see that was missing from the list, and I didn't know if that was intentional or not.
Oh, I should have brought it
omission. This entire show is a sham.
Look, we're now up to 49 games, right? I'm sorry, I can't keep track of them all.
Somebody find one more, quick. Well, though, what we have to do is we have to let Fortnite win so we can get that sponsorship money. Welcome to the harvest season of Fortnite podcast.
Of Fortnite, but I just did not ever foresee there being a scenario where in the farming game of the year discussion, or just in general on a harvest season episode, that I would be bringing up Fortnite in a like semi-serious way.
Yeah. One thing I haven't played Fortnite ever, but from what I understand, every time they bring in these new distinct modes or gameplay elements, it's always very polished and good quality. Like they brought in Spider-Man swinging and Attack on Titan. So I'm not surprised that this is high quality. And that's a lot of money being thrown at this Lego money, Fortnite money. Holy moly.
Wild. All right. Well, you're probably right. It's probably not going to win, but it's there. It's in the list. Not many games get into the list. So there we go.
Nope, just 48 others.
No, into the list of the there's only 9.
Oh, our list. Oh, okay.
It's only 9. All right, Kevin, what's your first?
My first one, I'm going to go with Mineko's Night Market. Shocker to everyone, the game I've been pining for how many years now? Oh gosh,
Like 5, like maybe 6.
yeah, I don't know.
I think it was
something
6 years ago it was first announced.
Well, so yeah, I think the fact that I waited that long and still was happy with what came out, I think is a testament to how good the game is. Obviously I haven't played all these other games and probably not even the ones on your guys' list, but out of the ones I see here, I would argue it has the most personality and charm. The art, the sort of craft book art aesthetic it has, very, very enjoyable. I haven't beaten it myself, right? Like, it loses some points because it came out with a handful of bugs and rough edges. But it's still a game that makes me smile every time so yeah, I gotta give a shout out to Mineko because I think it actually did deliver. Obviously, it's not the scale of Tears of the Kingdom waiting 6 years for that or whatever, but for what it set out to be from all the trailers and whatnot, I think it delivered. It's very cute, which I appreciate now. I have cats myself. Yeah.
Yeah, totally fair. And it is still the wallpaper on my phone and has been for...
Yeah, there you go.
Like,
also, actually,
7 months,
8
months, something like that.
Yeah, that's the good stuff. One thing I do want to go on, as we talked about in the episode we talked about it, the titular night market part of it is very fun. Auction, going into a little bid war with customers to sell and make profits and whatnot. I don't think a lot of these other games are focused on that, like making money. So that was a refreshing angle approaching the whole cottagecore thing. And again, just very fun. Points for that.
Awesome.
Are we, just for the sake of the structure, are we just going through our picks and then discussing them, or are we?
If you have more to talk about talk about that game just now, then feel free. We don't need to discuss whether it's the winner yet or not. And
sure,
don't say whether it's on your list yet or not. We'll get to that.
Oh, okay.
All right. Micah, what's next on your list? I'm kidding.
We
have to say one way or another.
We have a collapsed list for the suspense. We're keeping the suspense.
Okay. You're right.
Even if it might really be obvious now.
It's not, though, because I'm changing it at the moment. I'm typing. No, I'm just kidding.
All right,
Al.
I'll go with my wild
Coral
card.
Island? Or is that later?
No, come on. I'm going with my wild card. Right. Micah started with his wild card. Let me go with my wild card. And that is the game that I'd forgotten about until 5 minutes ago, Hello Kitty Island Adventure. Look.
All right.
If you told me 5 years ago when I started this podcast that I would be saying that a Hello Kitty game was one of the best farming games, well, it's not farming game, best cottagecore games of the year, I would be very confused as to what on earth you're talking about. How did they manage to make a Hello Kitty game good? I do not know. It should not win. It will not win because it's not the best game of the year. Mainly because, come on, release it on Nintendo Switch. Don't, like, that Apple Arcade exclusive is very frustrating.
I am crying in Fantasian right now because that game has been tied to Apple Arcade for maybe 2 years now. I think.
Wild. Yeah.
So I've given up hope as far as games leaving Apple Arcade and going to other things. They
do generally eventually. There have been a few that have, like, but they need their initial agreement to lapse.
Nothing.
And I guess the smaller the game is, the more likely that it's worth their while continuing with the exclusivity because Apple pays them a lot of money for that.
Yeah.
Wildflowers came out from
okay.
Apple Arcade.
I guess I gotta question that because I feel like the two games that have maybe like the biggest pull that are stuck in Apple Arcade are companies that have a lot of money already. So I almost wonder if, because Apple knows that they threw more money at them to stay on the platform than they would at small, because there's a lot of smaller games that do leave Apple Arcade.
I don't think that disagrees with my point. So like if it takes a lot more for a bigger game to stay on, right? Whereas a smaller game, they have to get a lot of sales for it not to be worth it to stay on Apple Arcade.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. I just it's odd to me that I guess it makes sense in that, like, maybe if they're throwing more money at them to keep them there, that's one thing, but I don't know. I just want them to leave Apple Arcade.
They also don't have to be exclusive, because as Kevin pointed out, Wildflowers is on Apple Arcade and it launched on everything.
Right.
And Disney Dreamlight Valley is on Apple Arcade and it's on.
Oh, there are a ton of games that are on Apple Arcade that later launched on like Switch and everything. So there's no
Wildflowers came out at the same time.
Yeah. There are a bunch of games that have come out on Apple Arcade and other things, but there are also games that have come out on Apple Arcade, like the ones that we're talking about. It could eventually come out on other things. So there is precedent for games that have come out on Apple Arcade exclusively and then later have come out on other things. But I feel like the 2-year mark for Fantasia is like, we're getting to a point where it's almost unreasonable that it's gonna come out on anything else anytime soon, especially because the discussion about it has died off, I think, which makes me sad.
Great Ace Attorney came out in English. Don't give up hope, Micah.
Yeah, that's true. We'll see. Mistwalker is not known for continuing things beyond their initial launch, i.e. Lost Odyssey, Blue Dragon,
Blue Dragon. Oh.
So we'll see what happens, but I'm not holding out hope at this point, which makes me disillusioned with the idea that Hello Kitty Island Adventure will leave Apple Arcade. However, I am very hopeful that it will at some point, because Sanrio money is also big money. So
I think it would be silly for them not to do it.
You're right. That's what I think gives it hope, because they're not stupid when it comes to making money, and I think they'll be able to sense there's money to be.
Well, and I think the advantage to them of Apple Arcade exclusivity is they can build the game for Apple Arcade, focus on one platform, get that exclusivity money, and while the exclusivity period is on, they can be developing their other ports, right? The exclusivity doesn't stop them developing the ports. It stops them releasing them. So they may well have not written the Switch port, but that's what they're doing now. And that exclusivity gives them the time and the money to build out the other ports. Because porting is a lot easier than building a game the first time. And so if you can focus on building a game once for one platform, and then you can spend the next year or two porting it to everything else at the same time.
Yeah. Which makes sense. And I hope that that's the case, but
I hope so too. Because this is the thing, right? Let's talk about the actual game. I love this game. It's fantastic. I don't love it enough to play it on an iPad, right? I'm not going to continue doing that. But I think it's a fantastic game. I don't know how they managed to make a Hello Kitty game so fun. I think it is great for both kids and adults, which is rare in games. It's hard to make a game actually fun for kids and adults. It's a really good exploration game somehow, while also like making me care about some Hello Kitty characters I don't understand. And also there's Gudetama with a top hat. So
there you go.
Mm-hmm. And Karopi. They're seemingly doing less and less with Karopi, so I'm anything with him in it, I'm happy.
Agritsu.
True.
So it's not the best game of the year, but I think it is up there, and I think it deserved to be in the list of 9. Micah, go on. Tell us another one.
I've got a surprise. Have I got a surprise for you? Also in my list of games of the year is Mineko's Night Market.
What?
No way.
I think I see where this is going.
What I will say though is that this is a little bit lower on my list of it. I would say that it is the lowest on my list of
below
games
Fortnite?
of the year.
It's only number 3. It's only your third favorite game of the year.
Well, I mean, Lego Fortnite's on there. Lego Fortnite is on there as number 4 because it was the wild card, and I knew it didn't stand a chance.
Wait,
so
you got 4 games here.
Yeah, but one of them is not a real choice. Let's be honest.
Are you cheating?
I mean,
Micah, how many of these have you not? You get 3. Oh, do I need to start with the honorable mentions?
I have a fourth one. I had an honorable mention.
Let me. But, I will say that Mineko's Night Market is essentially my honorable mention.
Fine. I'm going to add a fourth one then.
Okay. All right. Look, who's making the rules here?
Me.
Then we can do whatever we want to do.
Yeah, well. Tell me about Mineko. You like it, do you?
I do like it, and I played it when it was I played the demo when it had launched. I was very excited for this game for a very long time. I was patiently waiting, and I was, I kept saying, "Oh, it's gonna be great when I'll let them." I'm more than happy to let them take their time to work on it and develop it, and if it gonna make it a better game and everything.
And boy,
I still love the game, and they really did take their time, but I have had more bugs with it than I guess I would have hoped for after waiting so long, which has made it a little bit less of an enjoyable experience.
I haven't played a minute, but they've put patch after patch. They've been working hard on it.
I will say that last night I played a little bit more just to get a deeper, continue, playing more, to be able to talk about it more or feel comfortable talking about it more. Cause I've played quite a bit of it already. But it's been a while since I've played it. So, I had 2 near full crashes last night.
Oh,
so
yeah.
And I'm happy that I did because it was it's rose-colored glasses where it was oh god, that game is so, because the atmosphere, the writing, like you said, the writing, everything about the game is so good. It's just the polish that dings it. And I hadn't remembered as much because I was so enamored with the world and the story and the art style and everything. So, refamiliarizing myself with the slight detriments, I guess, I think was an important thing to experience. But it is, I would feel I would feel like I was not doing my due diligence by at least including it as an honorable mention.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Yeah, the bugs weigh it down. And I hope we still can get to a point, because they're still working on it. I fully believe we'll get to a point where it's nice and polished. But But right now, at the time of recording, we're not.
We are going to have fun trying to figure out the winner. Right, Kevin, what's your next one?
I mean, look, to be fair, all the other games on the list don't have Venom hitting the gritty. So, Fortnite's it's up there.
We are not choosing Fortnite. It's not happening.
No gritties in the Lego mode though. I can't hit the gritty as Goku in Lego mode yet.
Well,
so.
Never mind then. Throw it in.
Look, I don't care. I don't care which of these games we choose, but it's not Fortnite. It's just not.
Okay,
happening.
we'll see. I mean, I think it's the one game that everyone owns. So
it's
nobody owns Fortnite?
It's a 2 out of 3 vote, Al. I'm just saying.
No, it's not. I own this podcast. This is my podcast. I'm the one that releases it. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just going to change it so it's me putting on accents and pretending to be you.
I'd be down for that.
Right, Kevin, what's your number 2? Or your next one? No, your number 2.
Actually,
your next one.
I'll bring up my honorable mention. I was going to say it for last, but I'll do it now. Story of Seasons, A Wonderful Life. It's, Micah, we talked about this at length, but it's a very great remake of a game that holds a very special place in my heart. And as a remake, like, I didn't see any big issues with it. I think it was done well, but that also held it back because there's a lot of quality of life improvements in the genre as a whole that have happened in the 20-ish years that have been since it originally released. And I mean, I'm not complaining necessarily that they weren't in there, but it's tough to compete with, some of the ones from today's day and age because of that. And it's very much rose-colored glasses for me. Like, I know this is a heavy bias, so that's why I wanted to bring it up. I still think there's a lot of objectively good things about it. The characters are cute and charming. I still hold that the actual farming mechanisms and the whole kind of schedule as one of the higher bars in the genre, in my opinion, at least in the 3D realm. But just a lot of fun. So sure. I definitely had to bring up A Wonderful Life.
It's a hard one because, remakes are difficult. And,
right.
If you, we love this discussion in the Pokemon community, right? Like,
faithful.
Is it a faithful remake? And what does that even mean? And it's like, do you just want the same game with better graphics? Or do you want the same game with better graphics and also quality of life improvements that we've had over the last 20 years? Or do you want a reimagining of what the game could have been? So it's like, we've had all of those in Pokemon, right? And it's like people can't agree on what they actually want out of those. And so I think as game developers, they just have to make a decision, and they made a decision, and you can disagree with it or you can love it. But I think, it's totally fine to mention it. But I think you're right. Like, just, I don't think you can legitimately say that a game that hasn't improved on quality of life in, was it 25 years, 20 years, 20 years, can legitimately be the game of the year in 2023.
I mean,
which is sad.
I love it, but I wasn't, at the very least, in this multi-person decision. I'm not going to fight for it. It's not a fight I'm going to win. I will say I got to re-romance my first video game relationship, Cecilia, again, and that was a very lovely.
And remakes will always be amazing for people who have played them. Like, I'm unlikely to ever actually truly enjoy A Wonderful Life because I never played it at the time.
Yeah.
But for people like both of you and lots of other people who it was essentially their first farming game, it was always going to be nice to come back to that in whatever form that is. And it's probably one of these things where we're going to get deep here, right? Like, it reminds you of a different time of your life, which you both long for, and also I'm glad you're not there at the same time. And it reminds you of all those things. It makes you sad for what you've lost. It makes you happy for what you had. It makes you happy for where you are now in some ways. But it can never truly, baby. It can never truly take you back to what it was like back then.
Woof.
Yeah.
You're not the same person you were 20 years ago. And you can never be that person again.
No. Oh boy. Yeah.
Sorry.
It was our most downloaded episode really of the year. It. So, there you go.
It was. On Spotify at least. On Spotify, it was the top episode on Spotify for the podcast. So congratulations to Kevin and Micah for that one.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Story of Seasons, A Wonderful Life.
Best honorable mention of the year.
Hey now. I mean, it definitely beat Fortnite, but we can always trust Micah for a crazy mention.
That was also the first Kevin and Micah episode. Good times. All right. Al, hit us with whatever you're going to hit us with next.
Okay, so this was originally my third one, was supplanted by Hello Kitty, so became my honorable mention, which apparently I'm now bringing up because you both have an honorable mention, and that is Fae Farm. I think this game...
wow, I thought that was going to be in the... Well, you said it was third at first, but okay.
So I think this is an interesting game, and I think if it had done slightly better, it could have been the best, or not the best, the second best. But I think it fell flat in a few cases, but what I think is really interesting is similar to the Fortnite thing, it has opened up farming games to more people, or more people who haven't played one since Stardew, for example. I saw so many people talking about this at every single Nintendo Direct or indie showcase, and people were like, oh, it's another farming game, but they were actually interested in Fae Farm. They kept actually looking at it. Like, it revolutionized traversal in farming games, and I really hope other games use that going forward, and that on its own makes it one of the best games of the year, because just the care and attention put into just go crazy with movement, you know, like you don't just have to be in this 2D plane moving backwards and forwards and up and down, right? We can play with that more. I really like what they did with that. I'm just really disappointed that it fell flat a bit in its world building and its story and stuff like that. And I really want to like this game more. Yeah.
All right, I haven't played
Interesting.
it yet, so.
I have a lot of feelings about Fae Farm as well.
Have you played it?
I have. I guess that is a good transition into one of my picks for Game of the Year, which is Fae Farm.
Amazing.
I'm gonna be honest. I was not expecting to like this game as much as I did, and I really enjoyed it. I have been playing it quite a bit, more recently too, and I don't know if it's that it's just like the medieval fantasy, kind of like the high fantasy element of it makes it more of an enjoyable experience to me. Like having something that's a like farming / life sim that has a, you know, kind of comfier high fantasy element that's not Rune Factory, I guess, makes it a good experience for me. I do think that there are a lot of, while there are things that it's missing as far as you know, the way that they handle relationships is kind of strange. You know, birthday is not really having much of an effect on anything for you know, acquaintance characters is sort of a weird design decision, but as far as the like you said, the traversal, but also the way that it handles the smoothness of mechanics, I think is really,
oh yeah, the
kind of
tool selection is really good as well.
Yes. Yeah. And I love when there is a like quest based element to farming / life sims, and so I like that aspect of it as well. I wasn't sure. I was hesitant to like discuss it in the moment while you were discussing it, because I didn't want to reveal that it was one of my picks. But I guess if that opens it up to more of a discussion about Fae Farm, then I'm all for it. But
I think the thing for me is, I just feel like nobody's a person in the game. Like, it just feels to me like everybody's just a model. Like, I don't feel like the thing that Stardew did really well is you felt like everybody had a life, everybody had personality, everybody had a story, and if you got to know them, you would find it out. And maybe there is that in Fae Farm, but I haven't found it. And that, I feel like, in and of itself is a failure. The fact that I haven't just found it by doing that, because you did in Stardew. Like, even if you weren't focusing on people, you would still find out that people existed and people had story. They would randomly come out with things because you had to do these things, the quests and blah blah blah, right? But Fae Farm, it just feels like everybody's just a stick figure. Like, it just doesn't feel, and like the model design probably doesn't help. Like, everything is like based on at least with the main characters, they're all based on your character creator, right? So it feels a little bit like everybody is just a doll with a wig on and some clothes, right? So it doesn't really feel like they're all individually crafted, whereas that's the thing about Stardew is they are all built from the ground up as a person. They're not like built on top of a character creator, and that to me is like what really pulls me out of it. And I haven't done a huge amount of the story, and maybe that would be better if I did, but I just don't feel pulled into it as much. Like, I want to like it because of how fun the traversal is and because of how nice the farming mechanics are, but I just feel like there's nothing actually pulling me to continue playing.
Yeah, I think that there are like, there is character development that's a little bit more like under the surface. That's, the one of the first people that you meet, or one of the first people that you get quests from, is the mother who runs the inn, and her 2 kids are helping her run the inn, and you kind of meet them and talk to them, and they talk about their mom and stuff like that. And there's the like fisherman who's got family that lives in a different area of the town, and they're they run whatever, and there are like connections there, and there's a little bit of a like there is a little bit of designed personality for the characters. But I will say that the relationship portion of Fae Farm is by far the weakest portion of the game. Like the how the characters, the NPC portion of it is very low level compared to everything else.
Yeah.
And I guess for me personally, and why I like it so much, is that I don't mind that as much, because I'm not playing the game as much for, like, what has drawn me in about the game is not the relationship portion of it. It's all of the other sim portions of the game. And that, to me, the like sim portions greatly outweigh the negatives of the relationship portion, which, not to, say this in a way that makes it sound like I'm invalidating your point, Al, but Al, as someone who is infamously, I don't want to talk to all these people. This is a perfect opportunity for you to not have to talk to all these people.
I mean that is totally fair, but I think the thing is, right, so I am very much strongly like, not all farming games need to include all the features that we have traditionally seen. Like, you don't need to be Stardew Plus, right? You don't need to be that. And if you're going to be that, you need to make it good, right? I think if you're going to be Stardew Plus, you need to make sure that every aspect that you're doing is worth it. If you're going to have relationships, you need to have good relationships, right? Don't just put it in because Stardew had it, which is a lot of the times that this happens. And I think that, for example, Mineko doesn't have romancing, right? Which obviously, because it's a kid, right? But like, it shouldn't. And if it had it, it would make it a worse game, right? Actively would annoy me that it has that. And so I think that this is an example of where they clearly didn't want to do this, right? They did it because you need to do that in these games. And my argument is, do not do that. It makes me like your game less because you didn't really want to, but you did it anyway. Like, that's the thing. And I think that if you want to do all of these features, do them well.
Yeah.
Well, as someone who hasn't played this, just who has heard about it, I do think, like, just because it doesn't have and much like Al, I believe not every game has to have every farming game has to have a relationship, but that doesn't mean, in my opinion, that they can get lazy or sloppy about their character. Again, pointing to Mineko, right? There's no real relationship or much of a social, but the cast is very charming. So, and again, just from what I've heard, it doesn't sound like Fae Farm really hits that very well.
Yeah, I think for me at least, it's not, the game is much more about the sim portion than the relationship portion. And I do agree that like that is that doesn't really mean that, they can get lazy with it. I guess it's just what the design, what the game design focused on, what their intention was with how they designed the game, which really feels like it's, more of the making it an accessible sim game.
which is totally fine. It's absolutely fine. I
Farming
think my point is
simulator,
like, don't
it
add the
does it.
features if you don't want to add the
Sure.
features. You know?
Right. As far as the world building portion of it, though, I do feel like the world, the story of the world, and the world elements are pretty interesting. Like, I like it. At least I enjoy the magic portion of it. I enjoy the how the fairies or how the Fae come into play, how the magic is, if for anybody who hasn't played it, that essentially you're trapped in this area because there's magic outside of the island that you're on, island, quote unquote. I mean, it's it's like just a portion of the world, but there's a beach because it's a farm sim, a life sim. There's got to be a beach, so it's kind of islandish. But you get there by boat, and you're trapped there by boat because there is there's magic through whirlpools, and those whirlpools also have there's like an exploration element to them, and there's all kinds of the like combat, quote unquote, is like there is combat as you go through the mines and stuff like that, but there's also much like Dreamlight Valley, there's big viney thorns that block certain areas, and you have to unlock those areas by getting through them. So there's things that are like confining you to certain areas, and that's just their way of like making checkpoints, right? But there's like a story reason for those things existing, which
I will totally accept that. I think the world building aspect is probably just due to me not playing the game enough.
Sure.
And if I got more into it, I would probably enjoy that more. I guess it's more a case of like, I'm marking it down on that because I haven't felt like it's pulled me into it early on.
Yeah.
And it's one of these like, oh, it gets good after the first season. I don't care. Make a good first season, please, sort of thing. Like I totally get that, and that's a bit on me, and it's a bit on the game. And it's just, I'm not saying like this is still one of my top 4 of the year. And it's just like it just doesn't quite get there for me, especially compared to my game. Kevin, you're up next.
Okay, you mentioned it in the Fae Farm discussion. Let's talk about a game that is just Stardew Valley Plus. I'm gonna bring up Roots of Pacha.
Well, I would argue it's Stardew Valley. It's Stardew Valley minus several thousand years.
There you go. Yeah. Or Stonedew Valley.
Oh.
So, first of all, Mike, are you familiar with this?
I am. I haven't played it, but I am familiar with it.
Okay. All right, good. I just wanted to know the baseline here. Okay, so for people who don't know, this is Stardew Valley set in the Stone Age. The visual style is the 2D pixel art style, very akin to Stardew Valley. The farming mechanics are very similar. It has romancing, which works very similar to Stardew. It's obviously not as big, only having come out this year, but what it does copy, I'm just gonna say copy because really that's what they're going for. From Stardew, they do it well. I played this game for many, many hours, and I think they were well aware of what direction they wanted to go with and treaded it very carefully. The characters, for instance, while partially from having weird caveman names that I can't remember, they may be not as memorable as, say, the Stardew cast, but a lot of the interactions I had with them, the dates and such, are fun. And the parts where they tried to expand or change the formula was great. I brought it up a few times this year, but it's one of the most innovative fishing mini games I've ever seen, where they try to do basically a spear fishing mini game where you're trying to chase a fish in a little circle. While minor, it was still appreciated, especially with my great disdain for the Stardew fishing type game. There was also and updating the farming with the Stone Age setting, I think, worked really well. They did it really in line with that vision, because a lot of the crops you have to go out and forage first for yourself, right? You're literally inventing the wheel and all these other techniques for farming. So it makes sense to how they lay it out and how you unlock things, because someone literally has to come up with the idea for irrigation, for instance. And there's also the farm animals are all Stone Age appropriate animals, right? You can get like a baby saber-toothed cat for a pet. You can get these Stone Age variety of like cows and llamas and things like that. There were a lot of fun mini games that they did throughout. Like there's a little racing mini game you can do weekly with your riding on your animal, and there's like a little fair festival that they do. So yeah, all in all, a very good Stardew clone. They advertise what it is, and it's delivered exactly as promised, and very well done. I guess my biggest complaint about it is that it is just a Stardew clone, right? It's working off a great game, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, especially when they're doing a great job like they are here. But just like, some of these other games are really trying to be out there, be really different. But yeah, no, I mean, I still recommend it heartily to anyone. Roots of Pacha is a great farming game.
This was definitely one of the casualties for me of too many games this year, especially as it came out right at the end of April, which was like, Kevin, you'll remember just at the beginning of our crazy period where we were recording like 12 episodes over the course of a month to give me a time off in the summer. So like that period of time was just not like, there was no time for me to be playing new games. And there were too many games this year, and I really should have played this game at some point, and I'm a little bit sad that I didn't, because this is the thing, like the I mean, obviously there's a little bit overdone of like, it's Stardew, but in this setting, right? And a lot of things do that. But there is something quite fun about the idea of the Stone Age aspect of it. Like, obviously, as you say, like, you're actually coming up with new ideas throughout history. Like, that's literally how, like, obviously it's not done in exactly the same way that humans did, but that's literally how these things worked. So that's quite a fun aspect of things, and it gives you different animals. And it's like, I'm a little bit sad that I never got the time this year to play it, but hopefully I can.
I think it probably flew under a lot of people's radar, even when we did an episode on it. Just again, that's a very bloated market, right, of Stardew clones. So it's understandable how it might not get, or how it might get looked over, and it also just didn't get quite as much mainstream push or attention from a lot of these other games. Like even Mineko's Night Market made it on a Nintendo Direct or Indie Direct or whatever, right? So that's super understandable.
Yeah.
Again, I think that's just because it was such a like highly anticipated thing, because it had so much time behind it. But
that's true.
I will admit I have not had much of an interest to play Roots of Pacha. I've seen people play it. I've heard quite a bit about it. Like, I've seen, trailers and stuff, and I've heard it discussed on this podcast previously. There isn't, as far as like settings go for games, Stone Age is not one that I'm like ever particularly drawn to. So it already is like, it's got I don't know, there's like a barrier there for me. But I guess also the like Stardew clone portion of it too. Like I love Stardew, and there have been a lot of Stardew clones that I've really liked, but it's just, I'm at the point now where like I want something different and unique too, beyond just being like, a Stardew clone. And I guess the like setting for me is just something that has made it difficult to want to play. But again, that is a 100% a like personal issue. That's not, that's like just my own personal interest in, how my level of interest in in Stone Age type settings, but from everything else I've understood about the game, for people who have played it and enjoy it, it's a great game. So
yeah. All right. Well, fair enough. All right, Al, give us your next one.
My next one is Mineko's Night Market, so there's probably not much to say about it. It's on my list as well.
no way.
Really? I actually didn't expect it to be on your list.
I didn't either, honestly. I was
So you were expecting me to bring it up straight away if I did. I was leaving the suspense in there. No, I think it's a fantastic game. Like I agree with you guys. Like the bugginess of it makes it feel a little bit, which is going to make this whole discussion about what the best game of the year is really annoying when we come to that. But I think it is a fantastic game. I really like it. It's lovely world, a fun, silly story on so many levels. Not too silly though. And the art style is great. I love it. The farming is obviously quite small and limited, but I mean, it's just a really nice game, and just a bit disappointing with the bugs. That's about it. Like, there's nothing functionality wise about the game that I'm like, oh, I hate that they didn't do this or that they did this, and it's literally just fix the bugs, all right, you know.
Right.
There's a character named Bobo's mom in that game. Literally, yeah. Bobo's mom.
Oh, I absolutely love that. Like, there's so many things about that. It's like, yeah, this is Bobo's mom. And it's like, yeah, she's literally just called Bobo's mom. Isn't it handy that I had a child called Bobo? It's like, and then it's like, there's the guy who runs one of the shops, and he
Hank
basically like he Hank the Hunk, and he's like, oh, you definitely wouldn't go to this place and take this tool to do this thing. You definitely wouldn't do that. I couldn't suggest you do. He's just so, I love it. It's great. I need to go back and finish the game because I stopped when I got to a point when it was really buggy.
I did too.
So I need to go back and play it at some point.
There is there's an aesthetic in the game, a sense of humor in the game too, that really reminds me of a developer that I'm a very big fan of called Onion Games, who has made such games as Tulip, which is a PS2 game that was about learning how to kiss, and understanding the rules of like consent for kissing and things like that. It's a very strange game, but it's a very good game. And I'm sure maybe the most like recognizable game, if you're going to recognize any Onion Games game, it's probably going to be Moon, the like RPG. That's a quote unquote anti-RPG. No, nothing. Okay.
No, then you know, there's a guy in an asparagus suit.
Yeah. But the way that like characters are designed, the way that their personalities are designed in like, you know, these really kind of like strange, unique ways has and how much of it is based in like Japanese culture too,
right.
Like both modern and traditional Japanese culture.
That's
really makes the like connection between the feeling that I get playing Mineko's Night Market and Onion Games type games like Tulip and Moon and stuff like that. It creates an extra level of enjoyment for me that like if you played those games, and I recommend that you play some Onion Games because I think they're a criminally underrated development team. I feel like if you like Mineko's Night Market, you'll enjoy those as well, and it will give you like maybe a little bit more extended appreciation for Mineko's Night Market's kind of world building and stuff.
Interesting.
Great. I'm looking up.
Tulip is it's a complicated thing to get your hands on now because of it. If you have a PS3, I think that's probably the easiest way to play it presently until there's some sort of like remake or port or whatever. But because they're such an underrated studio, it makes it, you know, hard.
They want to remake Rule of Rose.
Yeah, they did make Rule of Rose. They have a like such a wild catalog of games that they've made.
Yeah, that's so different from what you're describing. Holy moly.
Dandy Dungeon is a game that is on the eShop, and I think it's a pretty cheap game. It's kind of like a dungeon RPG light type game, but that is probably the most accessible Onion game that you can get, that has the same kind of vibe that their other, like Tulip and stuff like that has, that feels similar in approach and design to Mineko's Night Market. So if there's one that I can recommend to try, it would be Dandy Dungeon, probably.
All right, I'll have to keep.
All right, Micah, give us your final one.
This is again gonna be tough. I had some, ups and downs about whether or not I wanted A Wonderful Life, Story of Seasons, A Wonderful Life to be in my top games, which I do, but I think that there are other games that I would like to give that. Again, the conversation was had about, remakes and nostalgia and, feeling like it's a really specific window in time where that has a, distinct feeling, and it's got a, like a really strong sense of this game is an incredible game. And I still felt that with the remake, but because it's a remake, I feel like it's a little bit less of it's a little bit more of a slight against some of the games that have come out that are, I feel like, a little bit more worth it.
But do those games have Muku
No, they don't. But they do have dinosaurs. And if I'm going to talk about anything close to Stone Age,
here we go.
I feel like I need to talk about Paleo Pines. So,
all right,
just a very pleasant game. I think the uniqueness of having dinosaurs for travel and using them as your partners in developing your farm and your ranch is really neat. It's got a quote unquote monster collecting aspect to it, and raising aspect to it that makes it enjoyable. I like as much as I don't love the character design as much, there's almost like a Wallace and Gromit type weirdness to them that nothing against Wallace and Gromit, but not what I would expect for a,
They don't have fingers. That's the part that always weirds me out.
The dinosaurs though are just the cutest thing.
They knocked them out of the park.
They really did. They're just they did a really great job making those dinosaurs look cute. And watching a Triceratops gallop through fields in a way that you would see a horse gallop through, a horse that's galloping through the fields is just, I don't know, it's so cute. And it's just a really well put together game. It feels like there are things about it that, they're like any game, there are negatives, but the way that it presents quest progression and stuff like that, how what you should be doing next for story stuff is a little bit weird to me. It was a little bit weird kind of familiarize myself with it initially because it wasn't super obvious when in areas where it felt like it should be super obvious, but other than that, I think it's a really good game. I think it's well deserving of being on the list, but that's my opinion. Does anyone have any
Kevin
distinct
can get into
opinions on Paleo Pines?
in a minute? Yeah. I want to get out for. I've not played the game. I think it looks great.
Okay.
I want to play it at some point. But yeah, it's not. It's not like, oh, I must play this.
Sure.
But yeah, Kevin probably has more thoughts on it than I do.
Considering I did the episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think my general opinion is that it's the next game on my list. Paleo Pines.
What?
No way.
Oh my word, it is as well.
Yeah, it is.
That is wild.
So this one so this is a very Kevin game because I am a very big dinosaur fan. I have been since I was little. I was one of the kids that watched Jurassic Park ad nauseum on the VHS, and they were my Pokemon before Pokemon. So pitching me a farming game with dinosaurs is, A+ in my book. But trying to put that to the side. Well, actually, no. Let's talk about that for a second, because that mission statement of let's put dinosaurs into farming, I think they did. It's the best part of the game, hands down. And that's not even my subjective opinion. Like, I think it just works great. Using the dinosaurs to, till the land, using them to water crops instead of your just traditional upgrades of your tools and whatnot. It makes your transport. You do everything with your dinosaurs. They can even become your assistants and help you farm. It's all really well integrated. Excuse me. Like Micah said, there's a little bit of creature collection. There's little dino decks you can fill, and even like color variation. So maybe you want to recruit a certain color dinosaur when you think that looks really cool. The dinosaur designs are very cute. They're well done. They feel kind of like Pokemon, somewhere between friends and pets or something like that. There are a handful of rough edges. They worked on it a lot since release. They stomped out a lot of the bugs. But yeah, some of the quest things are a little obscure at times and things like that. I had to look up the internet for some help every now and then. The farming aspect of it is probably fairly traditional. The biggest thing is that you can grow any crop at any point in the year. It just affects your yield and things like that. But again, just using a T-Rex to water your crops instead of just picking a bigger watering can is a lot of fun. Yeah, and the fact that it's I give a lot of props to farming games in particular for going full 3D, right? Because it's very easy to just go the Stardew route and do 2D pixel, right? But they went full 3D, and it's not, it's not Tears of the Kingdom Hyrule or anything, but I still enjoyed it enough. They felt like this is where the dinosaurs live. You can see herds of them. It felt like wandering through a dinosaur land. And I enjoyed that. There's sometimes it almost was too much. Like you have to find certain items and they're just little icons on a big field and whatnot. But overall, I think they, except maybe Mineko, they put out of the games on my list like the most work in being most original or different. But yeah, no, I've played Paleo Pines possibly the most out of all the games on my list. It's one of the few games, it might be the only one I talked about in an episode this year that I actually kept playing after because I was enjoying it so much. And I'm very close to finishing. I pick it up every now and then. I'll probably finish it soon. But yeah, I adore Paleo Pines. I think it's a fantastic game that does farming with dinosaurs very well. Yeah, that's roughly my thoughts.
Mm-hmm. And I just a quick little addition on to like piggyback on what you're saying about the dinosaurs and how well they integrated it, and as someone yourself who's always really been into dinosaurs and was into dinosaurs as a kid and stuff, and it's got that I also was have enjoyed dinosaurs, Jurassic Park and stuff like that, but it's definitely a lower like interest point for me than I feel like most people who probably are playing this game. Like Becky, my partner Becky, has picked up the game and absolutely loves it. And she kind of got me into it in that way. Like I was,
very nice. Was she a dinosaur girl?
Not
Did
as
she know how to pronounce the names?
She loves dinosaurs. Not like like knowledge level as far as she just has always been a like dinosaur fan. So when she saw that it was a farming sim with dinosaurs, she was immediately excited about it, like enamored with it. And watching her play it got me kind of into playing it. And as someone who is not as interested in dinosaurs as other people who are probably playing it for that specific reason, it still has made it such an enjoyable experience. And the dinosaurs are such an enjoyable aspect of it that even not as like a huge dinosaur fanatic, it's very cute, very enjoyable part of the game that I think, makes it, again, like you said, it makes it unique. And I agree that it is very hard for a lot of these games to transition to the 3D style of farming game, i.e. Harvest Moon Winds of Anthos had a very, kind of rough transition into
rough is one word for it.
The 3D part of the 3D style of farming game, and I think for Paleo
it had a rough
Pines
transition into trying to be a game, to be honest.
Yeah, well.
It's on nobody's list. Let's
You're
put
just
it that
lucky
way.
It's not on my list.
It's on the worst games episode that we're doing next.
Okay, let's.
I wouldn't put it that. I'd put it in the most meh list, right?
I still stand by. It is the best thing that they have done in recent years, and I hope that they keep it up. And maybe one day, Natsume, maybe one day you'll be on the list for Game of the Year. But
and I still think you're sleeping on Mad Dash. So,
well, I wouldn't be the only one sleeping on Mad Dash.
That's true. It's all look. I finished that. I completed that game. That was a great game. I loved it. Fantastic. Highly recommend. Not a farming game. No idea why it's a Harvest Moon game. Whatever. Loved it. It's all come down to this, gentlemen. This game is the game of the year. I promise you, right? Not only is it the game of the year, this game, my final game in my list, is, in my opinion, not my opinion, an objective fact, this is the best farming game.
Are you playing it right now?
This is the best farming game. Full stop.
Oh.
Bar none. Right? Coral Island.
Shocker.
I can't say that I'm surprised that is where this was going.
The game Al's played for 300 hours? What?
It's only 100 so far, right? But I would be surprised if this time next year it wasn't up to something like that. Okay, so let me
before you continue.
Oh yes.
Can I ask you a question?
You can ask me any question.
Last night for me, this morning for you. Oh, technically also this morning for me. It's just as a matter of what time I went to bed.
Not important. Not important.
Not important. We talked briefly on Discord, and you had said no one will see one of my picks coming. And I can't tell now if that was sarcasm because we could all see that Coral Island was coming, or if it was one of the other ones that were in your list.
Well,
and I just really didn't see it coming.
I mean, let's just say I can't remember what I was thinking when I said it.
Could have been Hello Kitty Island Adventure, honestly.
No, because I'd forgotten it existed until
that's true. You're right.
An hour ago. Right. So who knows? Anyway, where was I? Yes, Coral Island. So let me
wait. I just also want to put a disclaimer. I haven't played the game yet. That's all.
Al. I hate to do this to you because of how much I know that you love this game. I also have not played this game.
That's fine. This is battle. Right. Can I just point out? 2 years ago, Spirittea won. It was only recommended by one person, and that was me. And I managed to convince the two people on the podcast that it was the game of the year. So
once you edit us out,
So I hope you're ready for this.
Do we just create the categories Game of the Year and also Al's Game of the Year as the
right, okay. I can't help it if I'm a good convincer, right? Right. Let me lay the groundwork here, okay? So you played Stardew. You loved Stardew. Stardew was fantastic. 8 years ago, it came out and it revolutionized farming games.
Mhm.
And it got so many people into farming games that hadn't been in farming games before. And it took what farming games were, and it took the bits and pieces that people loved, and it made them as good, if not better. And it took bits that people didn't like, and it made them actually enjoyable. Coral Island has done the same. It has taken everything good about Stardew Valley and it has made it better. And it has taken everything not great about Stardew and it has made it fun. This game is amazing. The farming, great, fantastic, pretty standard. It doesn't do anything revolutionary in the farming aspect. But let me tell you, it has a 5x5 sprinkler. Oh, 5x5 sprinklers. We love them. Not only does it have a 5x5 sprinkler.
Do you know how many squares the T-Rex can water, Al? Do you know?
Oh, just you wait. Not only does it have a 5x5 sprinkler, it has an attachment to that sprinkler that can sow the seeds. It can water the seeds. It can fertilize the seeds. It can harvest the seeds. This thing can do it all. You can set up, I kid you not, hundreds, no, thousands. I have over 1,200 plots of farm in my farm just now. They're all automatically farming, and I don't need to do anything. It's fantastic.
It's your game of the year. Is this a cry for help, Al? Good heavens.
Right? It has more animals, it has better animals, it has a mine that actually has a story to it. It's not just a random mine, it has a story, and that is a fun story. It has characters that you care about, it has a story that is fine, it has
That's fine.
I had to put it in there somewhere. It has festivals that change as the years go on. You have a tree planting festival that the next year you can see there's more trees this time than there were this time last year because it's fantastic. It has a whole world underwater where not only can you replenish the seas, you can fix the coral in the Coral Island. You can meet mermaids and what are they? Mare people. You can meet mare people. You can find their kingdom. You can even turn into a mare person yourself. Tell me why this game shouldn't be game of the year, because it has everything. It is not perfect, because no game is perfect, but it
Can't write a Utah rap.
As close to perfect as you can get so far.
Well, I think the unfortunate part is that I can't tell you why it's not Game of the Year.
Exactly, you can't. You can't tell me.
Played it, so I have heard a lot about this game, not just from Al, but I have heard a lot of good things about Coral Island. Again, have not personally played it myself. Not for any specific reason other than that there were too many games. I guess to use Al's term, it was the casualty of too many games this year, and just was not on my list. Also, not available on the Switch. So,
yeah, it's coming next year. Yeah, that's fair. But don't you have a Steam Deck, Micah?
I do, but
there you go.
I play games so much more on my Switch, especially cozy games.
Qualified.
But let me tell you, Micah, the Steam Deck is the least buggy version of this game.
So, well, that's interesting. That means probably that the Switch version is going to be very bugless.
Sure. Whatever you say.
But because I feel like it's probably I feel like the best part about the Steam Deck being a thing is that it has given developers the ability to develop for handheld without having to release on the eShop first.
Yeah.
They can release on the much more accessible Steam store. and develop the handheld version of the game so that it's an easier transition to get it on the Switch, which, let's be honest, more people have Switches than have Steam Decks. I'll say though that my Steam Deck has primarily just become the thing that I play games that are much too powerful to play on my Switch.
So there's a handful of Switch games on there, you say.
Starfield or Starfield does in fact play on the Steam Deck, which is
all I'm going to say is Coral Island on my Steam Deck. Like it's another heat source. It's fantastic. Look, I love this game. It is fantastic. I when I say it is my favorite farming game, bar none, I am not joking. Like, I think Stardew is amazing and will continue to have a place in my heart, and I will continue to play it. Like, I'm gonna pop that game open when the new update comes out, and I'm gonna love it. But this game does so much to improve on what Stardew already improved on 8 years later, that I think that finally we have a game that I can consider better than Stardew Valley. It's wild that it took this long. But
what are you talking about? Wildflowers came out last year.
Just give Fae Farm a little bit more time to bake, okay? It'll be
Look, Kevin, one of the things we loved about Wildflowers was jumping over the fence, right?
Yeah.
You can do that in Coral Island as well.
Yeah, but they did it first.
Well, actually, I'm not sure about that, because when did Wildflowers come out, and when did Coral Island Early Access come out?
Yeah. That's a point I want to bring. How long was it in Early Access?
About a year.
A year? I'm always torn on Early Access.
Oh yeah, we know you're fundamentally biased against games that are early access. We know this.
Yes, I know. But even aside from that, and specific to this discussion, right? Like, it had a year advantage over these other games, at least in terms of like player feedback, right?
Yeah, I guess as far as like some of them, right? Like, was Roots of Pacha in early access before it was?
It was not.
I guess the games that I'm not sure of, like Paleo Pines, Roots of Pacha,
they were not. They didn't have an early access.
Okay.
Look, we're not judging a game based on whether it had early access or not. We're judging a game now based on how it is now, and I think this game is fantastic.
I'm just saying, like, that gives it a leg up, right? Like, to pointing at the other one, Baldur's Gate, like the actual game of the year that everyone's talking about. It's so good because it had so much early access, like a couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Other games can do it too.
I know.
Oh, it's true. And I think, Mineko being on all three of our lists and a game that was in development for such a long time, had a, demo for a while, and, it's still all playable portions of it contained within this year. But I think having that like development time for such a long time. I mean, really, when did Mineko's get announced? Isn't it like
6 years ago?
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
So here's where we come into our problem, Micah, right? Because in any other year, if all three of us had a game, it would just be crowned, right? No problem. It's going to be the game. Can the three of us legitimately say that Mineko's Night Market was the game of the year when it was so buggy? Legitimate question.
No, I agree that it is. It does not. It's not.
But I don't know who else to hand the crown to.
Oh, I know. I know who to hand the crown to. Don't worry.
No, you know. Okay, no, that's fair. I feel similarly, right? Like, I waited for that Mineko so long, and I enjoy it. It made me smile so much, but it's like I can't. Yeah, like I couldn't recommend it. At least the time when it's probably better now. As Micah said, probably still has some. But yeah, no,
it does.
It's yeah,
not probably. Yeah, it does. But
okay.
I think that doesn't necessarily. It's hard, like thinking about. I guess like thinking about context of like development for the games too, right? Like what is the size of the team that worked on Mineko's Night Market, right? Like it's almost like the same kind of feeling that I have about like not the same feeling in that, you know, how the development process is going or anything like that, but like for Snacko as an example, like I know that development team is not like, it's not a huge development team, right? Like it's a small team, and the game has been in development for a good amount of time, and they are doing amazing things. I think that like that game has already shown way more polish than Mineko's Night Market did.
Game of the year 2024.
Yes. I'm calling it out. But I think that, you know, like that context is, if there was, you know, because it took it because it's been 6 years since Mineko's was released. I don't know the size of the development team, but I would guess that is probably a small team, a very small team. And I wonder what level of the, you know, like how the development cycle went is based on how big that team is. I don't necessarily think that should be a factor in whether or not it makes it game of the year or not.
That's what I was going to say. I don't think we can judge it based on that. Like, I think we need to look at the game as it is just now, and which of these games do we think deserves to be the game of the year based on our experience with them, not based on how big the team is, whether they had early access, how long they've been in development, etc., etc. You know.
Well, of the games that I've played this year, Fae Farm is certainly. I have no doubts that if we had both played Coral Island, it probably would have been in our lists. But based on what I know of it and what I've heard about it, but I personally can't say one way or another.
I will
how good of a game it is.
Yeah, likewise here, but I will say, even with all I've heard about it, like, I'm sure it's a good game, it hasn't really pulled my interest per se. There's still very much a sense of a Stardew base, if you will.
Oh, definitely.
Right.
And I think that's
in so much as the same way that Stardew was based on Harvest Moon, you know, like I think, and that's neither a good or a bad thing, and we're not here to decide what's the best Stardew clone each year. That's not what we're doing. Absolutely.
I mean, for me, it is kind of a fact. Just again, as someone who hasn't played it, right? Like, hearing about what feels like a Stardew clone to some degree, lessens my interest in it per se. Like looking at Paleo Pines, that's something very different, and I really enjoyed it. But, you know, this is the big asterisk. I haven't played it. Maybe it has made enough upgrades and updates to feel like the huge leap and bounds. I mean, like Wildflowers.
I double checked, by the way, February of 2022, Wildflowers came out. I don't think we can justify that being the game of the year in any shape or imagination. February 2022. It's nearly 2 years old, Kevin.
I'm just saying. Well, okay. But, all right. So if we're not going to go with Mineko's, then, like, I'm going to cast my vote for Paleo Pines, because at least out of all the games we talked about, that's the one that I've played the most. It makes me smile the most. I think it does the most fun things.
This is where this gets difficult, right? Because I also, of the games that, like, I understand the frustrations with Fae Farm. I stand by that. I feel like that is one of the best games in terms of like what it can do for farming games. Or for, you know, like life sims going forward, especially with how much backing it's got, how much, you know, support it's had and stuff like that, and how new it is as a franchise, or as a, you know, I guess as a franchise, that there is opportunity for it to be something really big later on. I personally loved the game as it is now, but I know that I understand where the frustration lies for some of that. I like that, and I like Paleo Pines, and I liked Mineko's, I think primarily because there wasn't as much of a, like, this is a Stardew type game. And I think you know, like Kevin said, there is a part of me now that is kind of exhausted by Stardew type farming sims where I just it's not that it's like a detriment, but there is a little bit of like a hesitancy when I hear, oh, it's like Stardew Valley. I'm immediately like, okay, I've played 8,000 games that are like Stardew Valley. I don't really need to play another game that's like Stardew Valley. Like, give me something more for it. Like, give me more than it's Stardew Valley, but you do X, Y, and Z. Like, in the same way that, you know, like, I'm playing Story of Seasons games because they're Story of Seasons games.
Yeah.
And I understand that there are so many games like Stardew Valley that, you know, kind of just took the Story of Seasons / Harvest Moon formula and have recreated it for the sake of, you know, it's the foundation for whatever the game is that they're doing.
I think this is the point, right? Like, I mean, I know I'm not going to convince you that Coral Island is the game of the year, right? I'm accepting that, but I do think that this is one of the things that I like about Coral Island is it isn't just Stardew Plus. It feels to me like yes, it takes a lot of what Stardew does, but I think in the same way that Stardew wasn't just Harvest Moon Plus, it was a reimagining in lots of ways. I feel like Coral Island is that. Like, yes, it is very clearly something that they started to build after they played Stardew and they went, oh, I like this, let's do different, right? But I feel like it is that. It is not Stardew Plus, it is Stardew different. And that's what I really like about it.
You could be right, and you know, I wouldn't be able to tell until we play, right? Like, maybe, you know, I'm just going by what I've seen and heard, right? It still feels like it gives the vibes, right? Some of the stuff you've described, the stuff that you love, the huge tools and the festivals, that's still something that could very well be in Stardew.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, like Stardew cannot become Paleo Pines, right? Or like, I don't think of Paleo Pines as inspired by Stardew per se. Like, there's farming, they share that mechanic, and maybe there was some inspiration there, but overall, like, it is a very different beast.
Interesting.
So,
okay, I have a suggestion.
We go to Mineko's because we can't agree on anything else.
Yes and no. So I think it's Mineko, and I don't think it like. If we came out of this conversation and we didn't choose Mineko, I think we would all be disappointed. I think we would all be like, I can't believe we didn't choose Mineko. And I think that yes, it is buggy, but can you say you didn't have so much fun playing that game, even with the bugs? And tell me you're not going to go back to that and play it multiple times, because it is such a good game.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly intend to finish that game. Yeah,
I do too.
I didn't want to push for it because I feel bad about the bugs, and I know it's going to bother a lot of people. A lot of them bothered me, and like, it's so rough around the edges. It hurts, but I still smile every time I think about that game.
And you know what? To be fair, and to further put the game's bugs into context, I do feel like we are at a point where there are a lot of games that launch earlier than they should with bugs that they, you know, don't have. I think that Mineko's Night Market was in a unique position where, probably because of the size of the team, or, you know, they had taken so long that they were running the risk of causing harm to the future of the game by continuing to not release it.
Oh yeah, there were points they almost called it quit.
And I think that has a factor in why it released in the state that it did, and how they've been trying to, you know, fix it and patch it and make,
I agree,
you know, adjust, make it a more polished experience. To bring things full circle, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
Yes, I was about to go there.
Released to great acclaim. And many sales in one of the buggiest experiences in a Pokemon game I've ever played, by a franchise that has billions of dollars.
But nobody yet last year was suggesting that was game of the year, though. This is the I'm not trying to convince you off Mineko now. I still think that's the decision. I've written it
But
down. But
I think that's
even me, who was enjoying Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and I think it is overall a good game. There's no way I would suggest it was the best any game last year.
Yes, sure. I mean, I think that it is the best-selling. I think the fact that it's one of the best-selling Pokemon games of all time is like kind of says something in its own way. I don't think there has been a Pokemon game that has reached like Game of the Year contendership. I can't even think of the last time that Pokemon was like up for Game of the Year for anything. Like.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say that the Scarlet and Violet was the best Pokemon game last year.
Legends did come out the same year, didn't it?
I would have. Did it come out?
Yeah, it did in January.
Wait, what was that?
Oh yeah.
Legends.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's I think that it is still the best sell. It sold better than Legends did.
Yeah, but I don't think we can't pull a huge amount from that, right? Because there's so many things that affect sales.
Sure.
Right? Like,
yes.
If you threw Pikachu in Mineko, man, would it sell?
Oh, absolutely.
Before we go too far down this road, though, let me just say the reason that I'm saying this is that how many bugs that game had and how little they fixed versus how hard the Mineko's team has been working to correct the issues that the game does have, I think says something in its own right.
That is very true. Absolutely.
And it's still, I personally feel like, I said when I was talking about the game earlier and I was arguing my points about it, that I had to go back to refamiliarize myself with the idea that it had as many bugs as it did, because I had mostly forgotten that part of the experience because I had enjoyed it so much. So I think that there is a, significant like offset for how many issues the game has had or might still have versus how enjoyable the experience is.
Absolutely. I mean, I put the game down because it was a bit buggy, but I can't remember tell you what it was that caused me to put it down.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, how much fun I had chasing cats around. I can tell you how much fun I had.
Race.
It just like all these things. Like I can tell you all about these things that I love about the game. And yes, I can tell you that I put it down because of bugs, but I couldn't tell you what those bugs were.
And that's, the point that the cats, we didn't even talk about the cats really, it's like the biggest.
No, you raced on cats. That's one of the first things you do in that game. It's amazing.
The point that I played that I got to, as I was playing the game and I was like, wow, this is like feels buggy and whatever when I had first played it. And you get to the point where you're in the garden and the cats are following you around. That was the point that I was like, you know what? Maybe this is a good game. Maybe this is the best game of all time. They're just following me. I pet them.
They didn't do anything.
Scratch their chin. They follow me around. Perfect game. No notes. Only a couple notes, but
I mean, I certainly won't feel bad if we call Mineko Game of the Year.
No, it's done. I've written it down.
All right, there we go.
Mineko's Night Market, the Harvest Seasons 2023 Game of the Year.
I also see that you have written a sad face next to Coral Island, and I'm very sorry. I feel bad knowing how much you care about that game.
It is my game of the year. It is my game, my farming game of, the last 8 years.
Ever.
Because, ever, but like I've only been playing them for 8 years, right? Like it is the best farming game I've played. But as I have said many a time,
Wildflowers.
My game of the year does not mean the podcast game of the year. The podcast game of the year is Mineko's Night Market, and that's fine. And it's fine because next year it's going to be Snackle.
Is cats a theme here?
In the spirit of cozy games too. Having a cozy game of the year where it doesn't, that is the game of the year for the podcast, but there are other games of the year that we've discussed here that are games of the year in their own ways that are also make them great games that I feel like I feel very good about recommending to people who may not have played them or may not have been interested in them previously, like Paleo Pines and Fae Farm. I would say Fae Farm, when it's, they're not a $60 game, I would
give it a minute.
Definitely be yeah. Give it a little bit of time. Let it reduce in price a little bit.
It's not that expensive on Steam.
I do stand by that. I think that game is a great game. I think that Paleo Pines is a great game. Obviously, Al is very adamant about Coral Island being an incredible game. Kevin agrees about Paleo Pines. I think these are all games that like very easily can be recommended and have their own level of game of the year in their own right.
Yeah, I need to go back to Fae Farm. Are you buying the DLC?
I probably. Let's be honest, probably, but I would like to.
Did you get the Switch version?
I did.
I think the DLC is included in the Switch.
Oh, it is. Is it?
Because I'm pretty sure, because so on Steam,
is that what makes the price?
Yeah, it is, because on Steam you can buy the game for either $40 or $60.
Okay.
And the $60 one is the deluxe edition, which gives the DLC. And I'm pretty sure in Switch it was just the $60 one they did. I don't think they did the $40 one. So I'm pretty sure the DLC is included.
Interesting. And I feel like I should add that like I was not. Fae Farm was obviously I was interested in it because I had seen so much about it. There was like Nintendo Direct coverage and stuff. It had a lot more coverage than we're used to for life sims, I guess.
They were pushing it so hard. Nintendo were pushing this game so hard.
Yeah, they were.
And I still didn't have like too much of I was like, I'll probably play it eventually, right? Like it wasn't really on my radar. They did recently a game trial for it, which if you don't know, on the Switch, they'll occasionally do this where they give you access to play the game in its entirety for a certain amount of days. I think it's like typically 3 to 4 days or something like that.
If you're paying for Nintendo Switch Online.
Yes, if you have the Switch Online service. And I played it from that, and after playing it in the game trial, after the game trial had ended, I was wanting to play it so much that I went out and just bought it because it was such a good experience for me. But there are opportunities for you to try it. I feel like there will be more opportunities in the future too for you to try it without that
double checked
$40 or $60 price tag.
I can confirm the Switch version does include the DLC. So.
Oh, cool.
So I guess
I didn't even
answered
know
your question
that.
for you. You will get the DLC.
Okay, there we go. Guess what? I'm getting the DLC. Surprise.
Awesome. Well, I mean, I kind of knew this is where it was going to go when when it was very clear that Micah had it on his list as well. So we got there in the end. We took a very long, meandering journey to Mineko's Nightmare.
I mean, it wasn't easy. There was tough competition.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think this has been an incredible year for farming games. I think there are too many. I think we need to dial it back a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I think that the number of good games is high as well. It's not like
it is.
It's not like there's 50 games and 45 of them are bad. It's like there's 50 games.
Been the case in other years.
Absolutely. It's like there's 50 games and like 10 of them are excellent. 10 of them are depending on who you are, whether you'd like them or not.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on these things. Like
I mean, like Smushi's
every
on
single
that list.
game. Oh yeah, well that's the thing.
It's great. It's a great recommend. I heartily recommend it. I didn't put into this consideration because it's kind of short and I had more to talk about these. But yeah, there's plenty of other great games on that list.
There are, definitely.
There are many games on that list that would have hit our list in previous years.
I have to question why Silent Hope is on the list. But
in what way?
Just in that it is such a not a cozy game experience by how much I've played it, but a great game. So I will say, being that it's on the list, I will take that as an opportunity to say you should play Silent Hope because it is doing justice to our fallen comrade Dragalia Lost. But
So what? Okay, right. Well, let me put it this way. Micah. I have not played the game. I have
Okay.
hardly looked into it, and I saw that it was marvelous, and so I put it in the
yes,
list.
understandable. It is very much an action adventure dungeon crawl.
But there is farming in it.
It is an action adventure dungeon crawl.
But there's farming
Very
in
high
it.
energy, very intense.
I mean, there's farming Cult of the Lamb, but that's the most minimal
Actually,
version.
I am a little bit shocked that Cult of the Lamb was not on here. I haven't played it, so I have
That's because it was last year.
Yeah, that was last year.
Well, it goes to show.
Micah, did we not discuss
We
it?
did
Was that not
discuss Cult of
part
the Lamb.
that was
My
last year.
memory
We
is
had
just...
a discussion about it. It wasn't far off getting like. Oh, come on, Micah.
You're right. I do remember that now. My memory is very bad. Cult of the Lamb was very end of last year, though, right?
It was.
I think it was like
Halloween.
October.
Yeah, it was right before they came out with the Halloween event, so it was right before.
It wasn't ridiculously late.
Yeah. Well,
So,
Sprout
to cap
Valley.
it off.
I have played Rune Factory 3 Special.
We don't need to
Good
go through every
games.
single one you've played.
They're good.
Micah.
They're good games. I'm saying
Thank
these
you.
are games that you can play and enjoy.
Yes.
Fortnite Lego, the actual game of the year, because you'll see. You'll all see next year.
On that
we are
note,
2 hours, 20 minutes into this.
I just want to say one thing.
I want to go to bed.
I think to crown Mineko, we need to reach out to the art team over there at Meowza Games and have them get a little animation of her hitting the gritty.
And then put it in Fortnite.
There you go.
That's it.
There you go.
Thank you. Thank you, Micah, and thank you, Kevin, for joining me on this podcast. Micah, where can people find you on the internet?
That's a great question. I have been more on like Instagram, I guess, recently than Twitter. I'm still kind of refusing to call it X.
It's
all right. Elon doesn't even call it X.
Yeah.
The
He called it
URL
Twitter.
still say Twitter.
It's not just that. It's not just he in a press conference was talking about it and calling it Twitter. He did not once call it X.
That's incredible. So I am there, but I'm more on Instagram, and that's probably where you are more likely to find me. Pretty much anywhere though, as at Micah the Brave, Micah, because a lot of people don't know how to spell Micah.
I find wild every time you mention that. Kevin, where can people find you?
Well, I'm just saying that I was just going to say they should know how to spell Micah because he's the artist who made the corn microphone and he's an incredible artist. So go check his work out.
I do have to correct like the transcript for this podcast every time with the outro because the outro says Micah the Brave and every time it's wrong. I'm like,
yep. That sounds right.
Where can people find me? Excellent question. You can find me at Koopa Prez on the tweeters if you want my personal. You can find me at Spirittea Squared if you want to see some art I make on occasion. Or, probably most prominently, you can find me at Rainbow Road Radio, the name of the show I do with our mutual friend Alex, where we talk all things Mario. That is at Rainbow Mario Pod on Twitter or Rainbow Road Radio on other platforms.
Are you guys doing a Game of the Year podcast this year?
No, actually, no.
The Mario Game of the Year is Mario Wonder.
I mean, yeah. But oh my gosh, it's a good time to be a Mario fan. For people who don't know or listen, you should check out some of our, especially the last episode we did where we talk about some weird official merchandise. Did you guys know there's a officially licensed Mario shower head that came out in the 80s?
No, but I can't say that I'm surprised.
It's amazing. Go learn about who Wah Peach is.
The Wah Peach stuff was great.
Oh, it's so good. And I'm telling Alex, she's right there. She's free. We can take her.
A little bit weird to say she's free. Moving on.
Yeah. Anyways, what we behind the scenes at the time, actually, by the time this podcast drops, the episode probably out. We just did a huge episode on Super Mario Galaxy, so go check that out. All right, what about you, Al? Where do people find you?
Yeah, well, obviously this episode is coming out in 3.5 weeks, so I think there'll be multiple episodes.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
No, 2.5 weeks. 2.5 weeks, not 3.5 weeks. This is the Game of the Year episode. The other one I'm recording on Thursday. This is a busy couple of weeks. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I've been talking for 2.5 hours. You can find me on Twitter and on mastodon.scott as the Scottbot. Probably on most other things as well, but so whatever. I don't really post a huge amount now. Like, nobody cares about my thoughts anyway. He says doing a podcast.
But I was going to say, wait, now hold on.
Yep.
They don't care about your thoughts. They definitely don't care about our thoughts.
You can find the podcast on Tumblr and on Twitter at THSPod. Go find us there. You can get links to everything we've talked about, although I'll be honest with you, this episode, I'm not linking anything. I'll probably copy and paste the list of games from the year, but I am not linking to each of them individually. You can Google them. But most episodes, I link everything we talk about. There's also a feedback form on our website, harvestseason.club. But it also does have links to other things, including our Patreon, where you can support the podcast, get access to our special Slack, and get access to our bonus podcast episodes, including, hopefully, assuming that people still have time, considering how long we've spent recording this, we will soon be releasing a Greenhouse episode on our Game of the Not Farming Year.
It's Baldur's Gate 3. Jeff Keighley proclaimed it so. You must listen to the Dorito Pope.
Look forward to that. Probably the Saturday after you're listening to this. Maybe the Sunday, because the Sunday is Hognay. Yeah, it is. Maybe I'll do it on the Sunday. I'll see how I feel at the time. It'll come out that weekend. I think that's everything then. Thank you, listeners, for listening. Thank you, Kevin and Micah, for joining me again.
Hey, thank you. And I'm sure that we will be having deeper discussion about Coral Island next year once it launches on the Switch. So don't give up hope yet.
Look, it's
although Snacko, so yeah.
Right? It's not like I'm not really, nobody else is Snacko. It's obviously Snacko.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, until next time, have a good harvest. The Harvest Season is created by Al McKinley, with support from our patrons, including our pro farmers, Kevin, Stuart, and Elisa. Our art is done by Micah the Brave, and our music is done by Nick Burgess. Feel free to visit our website, harvestseason.club, for show notes and links to things we discussed in this episode. Moonlight in Garland. One Lonely Outpost. Research Factory? That's not right. It's called something else. Research Story is Research Story. Research Story.
Factory.
Research Factory. Wave Factory Research. No. Research Story, Song of the Prairie, and Snacko.